Everybody, welcome to today's call, the Friday Senior Solutions Agency call. Joe Johnson and Jimmy Hernandez, we're going to be your hosts today, and certainly, we've been doing this call for many years, and something we take a lot of pride in. We do a lot of preparation. Today, we got a great call lined up for you. With that, I think we ought to just dive right into it. I just have a couple of real quick announcements or maybe housekeeping items. One is a new agent starter kit. If you're a new agent, you have not ordered your new agent starter kit, make sure you get with me or your agency manager so we can make sure we get you the proper tools. Or if you're running low, if you need to reorder, if you've worn out your flip chart, you need delivery notices, business cards, let us know so we can get all that stuff. Also, you may notice that we have a new format, if you will. The ID badges look a little bit different. So if your ID badge is worn out, you want to get a new one, go ahead and get one ordered up. Now, today's topic, this is actually going to be, I was thinking about making this into a series, Jimmy, depending on how long we run today, but this is going to be part one of our top agent series. And what we're going to be talking about are the things required for you to elevate your game and become a top agent. We want everybody with Senior Solutions to be a top agent. And we're going to talk about some of the things that are required in order to be a top agent. If you're watching us, and if you're catching us for the first time, maybe you're not a Senior Solutions agent, or maybe you're watching this on YouTube as a replay, do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, like the video. We put out new content every single week, and it really helps the channel, helps the word get spread around if you subscribe to the channel. So we certainly appreciate that. And if you think we're doing a good job, if you like the content, certainly make some comments and give us a thumbs up. Hey, Jimmy, if you are ready, I have your screen up. If you want to take a minute, and I know you do a financial education video or webinar every Monday. If you want to take a minute and tell us a little bit more about that and kind of plug that, let us know how we can tune into that to get more information and get a higher level of education when it comes to financial investments and that sort of thing.
Thank you, Joe. Well, yes, this coming Monday, the topic is going to be income in retirement. And so this is particularly good for those folks that are either approaching retirement or maybe they are retired and they're looking for an income solution. And this past Monday, Joe and I we talked about annuities as one of those solutions to provide or fill that income gap or income shortfall. And so this coming Monday, we're going to kind of elaborate and expand on that and go more into the actual financial planning and show people different options and also how to increase that income as they get older. And so for you agents that are on the call, this is great information for you. The more educated you are, the more you understand how financial planning works, I think it's going to be the better you're going to be able to serve your clients. So please tune in. It's via Zoom, and that's the Zoom code there on the bottom. Every Monday, I have these. I am considering changing it to a Friday at noon, but I haven't made that final determination yet. But as of right now, it's Monday evenings at 6 Central Time. So
I
thank
kind
you,
of
Joe.
like the Monday evening.
Do you?
Yeah, I kind of like the evening, because it gives, especially if you're trying to get, if you're going to have clients attend, not everyone is going to be able to hop on, Friday at noon if they're working a job.
Very, very true. So I think I will probably keep it there. It's just that sometimes it conflicts with me. Monday's one of those busy days, but you know, I've been doing this webinar for a little over a year now, and I think maybe I should just stick with it. But
Well, or maybe move it to a different day of the week, but I definitely I like having it in the evening.
okay, all right. Well, thank you for that input.
And then how does someone get, oh, here's the question, Jimmy. I know I get your reminders throughout the week. Is it once someone is registered, will they always get the reminder, or do they need to keep re-registering every single week to get the invitation?
That's a great question. You only have to register once. So once you are registered, you'll get the notifications every week for the topics and you know, the reminder for the date and time and stuff. So
Okay, all right, good. All right, so what I will do is, I'm sure most everybody that's on this call are getting text from Senior Solutions. We have a texting service that we use. I have sent out the registration link before, but I will send it out. I'll send it out after this call is over. I'll send out the registration link, and I would urge, everybody to hop on these calls Monday night. They're extremely educational. And the other thing too is that this is a friendly environment where you can invite your clients on to increase their knowledge as far as different type of financial services that are available. And if you got a client that's considering retirement income or just wants to get more educated on different avenues of financial services, Jimmy's the expert. And Jimmy, I'm sure if we've working on a deal and one of our agents needs a little bit of help, I'm sure you would love to be able to offer them your advice, correct?
yes, so if you're an agent, you're part of Senior Solutions, and let's say you have a client and they're considering an annuity as a solution, and sometimes, and I can tell you this from when I was just licensed for insurance only, sometimes the people just look at an insurance agent as a salesperson. So there's not a whole lot of trust sometimes there, and they're not sure if it's the right thing to do. Now that I'm a financial advisor and I'm considered a fiduciary, it puts me in a different, I guess you can say, credible position, and I'm able to speak to not only the insurance side, but I can talk to them about investments and about alternative solutions. So in many times when I make a recommendation, it's looked at in a different light. And so if it does suit that client's goals and needs, I can help you and I can assist you with that. I'm not going to ask you for, a split commission or anything. You keep all the commissions. But that's just one of my roles here with Senior Solutions as a financial advisor is to help you guys with your clients.
Yeah, and I think just you hit the nail on the head, man. Just the word financial advisor, and a lot of people don't know what a fiduciary is, but just having those titles, just it puts you in a different category, and it lends a lot of weight versus just being an insurance representative or insurance salesperson. Jimmy, are you with our topic today, which we're talking about, being a top agent? Are you prepared to go ahead and go first, or you want me to go?
I can go first, sure.
Well, I have your first slide up here that,
Okay.
and so I'll go ahead and turn the floor over to you and let you have the honors.
Thank you, Joe. Well, guys, if you want to be a top agent, activity is the key to success. And when I say activity, I'm definitely talking about income producing activity, right? So that means prospecting, that means, making presentations, that's a follow-up, talking to people, making calls, like anything that has to do with producing income. That's the type of
Jimmy,
activity.
can I interrupt just for 1 second?
Yes, sir.
You go ahead. I just need to go. I'm going to leave the screen. I just need to go have a conversation with my son real quick. He needs some help, but you go
Okay.
ahead and I'll be right back. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So as I was saying, it needs to be income producing activity. And I'll just expand on this for a second. If you don't have anybody to talk to, right, then you need to figure out where you're going to get those leads. And many times, new agents, they come in with the thought process that, oh, I'm going to tell all of my family, all my friends. If I look in my phone, I have 1,000 names saved in my contacts. I'm on LinkedIn. I have, 15,000, connections. Okay, well then get started, right? So I think what you're going to find is that you will make some sales from that list, but it's not going to be anything that's going to sustain your career. So you might, start off with a few sales and might, carry you for a month or two, but then you're going to work through those warm market leads. And then what? So my thing is the best way to build this practice is to buy leads, and you're going to buy leads that are generated from people that have an interest in life insurance, whether it be an interest in final expense or mortgage protection, or perhaps even leads in annuities. Um, whatever you whatever target market you're going after. I'll just tell you this real quick. So when I first started, I remember the direct mail A leads for final expense were $27 a lead. And I thought, oh my God, man, $27 a lead. Well, now I buy annuity leads, and those leads are $325 a piece. So, 30 bucks sounds a lot better, right? So, you just put things in perspective. So, guys, if you don't have the leads, there are some sources out there that we can talk about, and we've talked about it plenty times in the past, that you can buy, recycled leads, like basically at $1.50 a piece. So depending on your budget and, and what you're able to afford, regardless, you need to work leads. And so, activity is the key. So now that Joe's back, you can go on to the next slide, Joe.
Oh, perfect.
Or
Yeah.
if you want to expand on that.
Well, I mean, here's the thing without activity, there's nothing. I heard a saying this weekend, and I'm going to get into it. I know, you guys, we didn't have a call last week because I was out of town. A lot of you don't know why I was out of town, which I will get into a little bit later. But Jimmy, I'm gonna say like a saying or a phrase that I think that we're all familiar with, and I just want you to repeat the end of it, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Anything worth doing is worth
Doing well.
exactly. I heard a twist on that this weekend. And one of the speakers at the conference I was at said, anything worth doing is worth doing badly in the beginning. So what in context, what he was talking about is the fact that so many people in business are so worried about perfection and being perfect. But if you're in a business and it's like what we're doing, selling final expense and mortgage protection and life insurance, guys, you're gonna suck in the beginning. You're gonna be bad, but it's okay because that activity is only activity and only experience is going to get you to a better place.
Hey, Joe, before we move on, can I say something?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Speaking about activity, when I first started in life insurance, it was October 2010. And the reason why I know is because my son was born literally like a week after I started, right? Now that his birthday is October 2010. And at that time, I signed up with an outfit. I don't want to say their names, but I will say it was a captive agency, right? And kind of like the boiler room, kind of imagine that we had all these cubicles. There was about 50 cubicles, and they're all full. If you didn't get there early enough, you didn't get one, right? So there was a lot of people standing around making calls off their cell phone because they didn't get a cubicle. That's how packed it was in there. And every Monday and every Friday, we started dialing from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., right? That's all we did was make dials to set appointments. Who were we calling? Leads. We had to purchase leads or buy a list of data and just cold call people that you had their name and their number, right? So I mean, like we did cold calling, we called leads. Mainly it was leads though. But here's the thing. I guess that instilled in me the basics, right? I would say probably in a day's time, I would literally make about 350 calls. And I'm not talking about dials because sometimes I dialed somebody 2 or 3 times, but we tracked them by, you know, calls, how many people we were calling, right? About
Got it.
300 to
Okay.
350
That's a
all
lot.
day. That's a lot of dialing. I mean, it was basically nonstop except for lunch. All we did was pound the phones, and you can hear people talking in the other room. But out of all day on the phone, Joe, I might set 6 to 9 appointments. That's it, right? But those 6 to 9 appointments would lead to presentations. And
Right.
we did that twice a week. So, let's say I had 18 on the high end appointment set. I probably realistically sat with half of those. So maybe 9 sits a week. And out of those 9, I was writing probably 50%. So I was making 4 to 5 apps a week or sales a week. And I was making, pretty good money. And it was at a much, much lower comp rate
Sure. Yeah.
than what we have.
What we offer,
But
right.
so when I started with Senior Solutions, I already had that built into me, and I've never like let that go. So I don't have to, like, I guess you can say, retrain myself. I'm already trained to hit the ground running. The only thing that I had to do different was learn how to door knock. I had never done that before. And I can tell you, I had the fear just like everybody, right? Oh no, I can't see
Right.
myself. I'm not going to be door knocking. Oh no, no, no. Well, it didn't take very long for me to figure out that I like door knocking way better than I like calling on the phone. So,
Absolutely.
but anyway, we can move on.
And then just out of curiosity, just to put it in perspective, all those dials you were making, were you using an auto dialer or you're dialing those manually?
Manually.
Wow. Okay. That puts things in perspective, man. That's yeah, it takes a
Hey, and
lot of
you know what's funny,
self-discipline.
Joe, is that we talk about recycled leads. Well, let me tell you, we would buy these leads and they recycled them to everybody in that room. And you could hear, I could be talking to somebody, and then 5 minutes later, I hear a guy 2 doors, 2 cubicles down talking to that same person.
Right, right.
Crazy. But anyway,
All right, buddy. Good stuff, man. I got your the next screen up.
fanatical prospecting, that's what it's all about. You gotta always be prospecting. As I said a little while ago, if you don't have anybody to talk to, then you need to figure it out, right? So start with your warm market, buy leads. I got really good just striking up a conversation, in the line at a grocery store, Starbucks. I mean, I got really good with that. And so it's you just start up a conversation, and then after a while you ask them what do they do for a living, and then they turn around and ask you, oh, well, what do you do for a living? And then there's your intro. Booyah, right? So I mean, you always have to be prospecting. A good source of prospects are going to be the people that you're seeing. One thing I learned, Joe, is that, let's say I purchased final expense leads, because that's really what I built my practice on. And I went out and I made a presentation. I got into the home, but I didn't make a sell. Well, I didn't leave
Right.
empty handed. A lot of times I say, well, who do you know that this might make sense for? And sometimes those people would say, "Oh, you need to call my brother. You need to call, my friend, or, hey, I got my grandchildren, or my son, or my daughter."
Yeah.
So sometimes, I would not make the sell to the person who's on the lead, but I made a sell to somebody in that household, or was referred to a friend from somebody on that lead. And that's really funny, right? So whenever you get that person that says, "Oh, this is great information. Oh, you're so nice." When I start hearing that, I already know they're not going to buy, right? When they start telling you
Right.
how good you are, they're not going to buy from you. So you might as well just go ahead and say, "Hey, well, who do you know?" and start asking for referrals. But you got to always be prospecting. As the slide says that, those prospectings, they turn into presentations. And then those presentations, they turn into applications. An application turns into money deposited into your bank account. And that's what it's all about, is we're here to make a living, right? So um, if you're out there just dreaming, of all this production, but you don't have a plan, you don't have goals set, then that's all it is going to ever be, is just a dream. So you got to, set some goals for yourself. What's really worked for me are activity goals, not necessarily production goals. So I would always set goals on how many calls I was going to make, how many door knocks I was going to make, how many presentations I was going to make. So if you set activity goals, it's a lot easier to push yourself to achieve those goals because they're activity driven. And if you do the activity, well, then the production will just follow. So John, I'll let you comment on that.
Yeah, I'd like to expand just a little bit on that, man, because I'm a true believer is that honestly, the magic is in how well you prospect. And what I mean by how well you prospect, like not how good you are, but how much effort and how much you put into it. And the thing about it is, Jimmy, what I've come to the realization, and this is myself included, is that when I first started in the insurance business, and when I first got started, I was introduced to direct mail leads from the very beginning. But like a lot of other agents, I think I drastically underestimated the amount of prospecting that's required, even when you have qualified leads. I mean, you have to, when you get a lead, and especially when I don't care if you're paying 50 cents for it, or $50 or 300 or $30, man, you've got to do whatever it takes to exhaust that lead and get a decision. And what I mean there, and for me anyway, there was absolutely nothing more frustrating than an unresolved lead. I knock on their door, they tell me to get lost, and they're going to call the cops on me. I'd rather have that happen than to have an indecision, for me not to have a resolution to that lead. So as a professional agent, and what we really are, we should call ourselves, we're marketers and professional prospectors, is that you've got to get in the habit of resolving every single lead. But at the same time, you cannot become emotionally attached to every single lead. So it's not like you buy a batch of leads for 20 leads, and you say to yourself, "Oh, I'm going to exhaust these leads. I'm going to work these 20 leads for a month." No, you've got to have a new batch of leads, a new batch of prospects every single week. Okay. Because what I'm always looking for is the low hanging fruit, baby. I'm looking for the people that are going to say yes, that are going to be easy. A lot of agents waste way too much time on on hey, not necessarily follow up, but trying to get back to people that have blown them off. You have a lead, and maybe you get a hold of them, you book an appointment, you go there, they're a no-show. You call, you can't get a hold of them, you get a hold of them again, they're a no-show again, a no-show again. Guys, at some point it's time to move on. That's why you got to have fresh inventory every single week. The other thing too is I'm a big believer in reverse engineering when you're setting your goals. So we should all be having the goal is that a minimum is that you need to be making 12 to 15 qualified presentations every single week. So for everybody, it's going to be a little bit different. But what we have to do is that you've got to figure out for your skill set, for the type of leads that you're working, what is it going to take for you to be able to get in front of 12 to 15 people and make a qualified presentation every single week? That's what's required. If you're working, if all you're buying are cheap leads and the best you can do is make 2 or 3 appointments a week or maybe 5 appointments a week, it ain't going to cut it. You either need to 10x your activity and buy 10 times more lead, or you need to get a different quality of lead so you can get out and you can make more presentations. And then the other thing too, Jimmy, that you hit on is that I'm under the same belief as you that it's, especially in the beginning, is that focus on the activity, not the results. And guys, you got to track your numbers, man. You'll never know where you are in the game if you're not tracking your numbers. You've heard the saying, hey, sales is a number game. It's all about, how many people you call, how many presentations, more presentations. But if it's a numbers game, you're not really playing the game if you're not tracking your numbers, if you don't know where you are. So Jimmy, I will turn it back over to you. I don't have another slide for you, but I don't know if you wanted to kind of wrap up maybe on your thought process for today.
Yeah, you said something, you started to say something, but I just want to clarify it about the prospecting time.
Yeah.
There's a book, and you recommended it to me, Joe, the guy who played baseball and then later became an insurance agent.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Frank Betcher. It's How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling.
There you go. And in that book, he said what he discovered is that agents spend 80% of their time working on leads that are only going to produce 20% of their commissions.
Yeah.
They got it backwards. They're spending all of their time on those people that, maybe were nice and didn't blow them off, but didn't buy, right? So they're thinking that they're going to spend all their time following up and they're going to generate sales out of those, when they should be spending 20% of their time on follow-up and 80% on new leads, right? So just kind of think about that. You need to spend your time wisely and put it in proportion. So that's why it's important to have that constant flow of new leads. Joe said it best, get the low-hanging fruit. I always try to put all my fresh leads first at the beginning of the week. And usually by Monday or Tuesday, I already hit some really good numbers. And I could, kind of be on autopilot the rest of the week, stress-free, knowing that I had money coming in. And then you can do the follow-up and continue working. But if you're putting all your time and effort on those older leads or trying to follow up with people and you're not going to get a whole lot of results out of it, that's where you're going to get frustrated. That's where you're going to get negative, and that's when you're going to get emotionally attached, right? You're going to get frustrated with those leads. So always have a constant flow of new leads. But Joe, that's all I have. So I'm going to turn it over to you for the rest of the show.
All right, buddy. Well, we got a few minutes left, so I'll certainly wrap it up. What I wanted to talk about in my part of becoming a top agent. As you guys know, last week we did not have a call. I was out of town. I really didn't announce where I was going or why we weren't having a call. Just I think I mentioned about travel schedule. Well, the first thing I want to talk to you guys about, and what I believe is one of the top things that you can do to help grow your business and become a top agent, is personal growth. It's something that I certainly believe in now. I'll embarrass myself a little bit. I'll be honest with you. Um, I really didn't start. I'm 55, almost 56 years old. I really didn't start reading books until I was 45. So, I mean, all the success that I had before in sales, and a lot of you guys know I was in the car business for over 20 years, and had a pretty good career, and managed a large team. But I thought all this stuff about, oh, you should read this book, and to be honest with you, I thought that was all for losers. Like only a loser would need to read a book, you know. Personal growth, going to conferences. I thought it was a bunch of malarkey and a bunch of, BS that people just wanted to sell tickets. And then, you heard the saying. I heard the first time I heard the saying, "Oh, leaders are readers." I'm like, that's. You know who made up that saying? Is it somebody that wanted to sell a book, to convince you? But what I found out is that all that stuff is true. And I really, really found out, and this is after I got into the insurance business and I started surrounding myself with entrepreneurs and people that were actually trying to grow a business. So it was really only about 11 years ago that I discovered, if you will, how important personal growth is. And I'm just telling you is that it's, for me, other than God and family, personal growth is number one for me. And I encourage everybody to engage in some type of personal growth program, whether that's going to business conferences, reading books, and the power of association is real. Getting around, whether it's a small group of people or like this conference I went to, it was I'll talk about it a little bit. It was the Grant Cardone 10X conference down in Miami, or whether you were around thousands of people that are like-minded, that all want to get better. They all want to have personal growth. They all want to be able to grow their business and be able to help other people and have the powers of influence. It's so important. So what I would ask you today is just do a little personal reflection and just ask yourself, what are you doing currently to grow yourself personally? What is your personal growth program? We've heard the saying, hey, you're either growing or dying, right? Or stagnant. So what are you doing? And the thing about it is that there's a lot of things that you can do that really don't cost a lot of money. One of the easiest way to associate and get around people that have been successful in life is just to read their books. If you don't like reading, sign up for Audible, check things out on YouTube, go to conferences. There's a lot of conferences and a lot of things that you can go to that really are not very expensive. Usually for a couple $100 you can get a ticket and get around, and just that, and get around people that are in life where you aspire to be. And what I want to do is just take a minute and I'm going to go over, let me look at my notes here, talk about some of the speakers that were there and some of the things. There were probably, this was a 3-day conference. So I was there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There were probably at least 20 different speakers. I didn't get a chance to see, all of them. I took breaks, during the time. Grant Cardone, guys, if you don't know who Grant Cardone is, check him out. I think he's rated as the #1 sales and entrepreneur coach in the nation. His material is absolutely incredible. He's got a lot of great books, a lot of great audio. And if you ever get a chance to attend one of his conferences or go to one of his boot camps, and it's geared towards sales, regardless of what you're in. And the thing about what I've noticed is that there are a lot of real estate people there, because Grant's big into real estate, but there are a lot of real estate investors. Just all different, financial services, insurance, people that run all types of business, construction businesses, anything that had anything to do with sales. That's the type of people that were attracted to go see Grant Cardone. But I'll just kind of give you an example of some of the speakers that were there, maybe some of the things that I heard. Keith O'Leary, or Kevin O'Leary, I mean, if you don't know who he is, a billionaire, and you probably have seen him on Shark Tank if you've ever watched Shark Tank. You know, one of the things that Jimmy, and I'll with each one I'll just talk about a little bit about what I learned, is that with Keith O'Leary, his biggest thing is about business evaluation was cash flow. Is your business cash flowing? I don't care what your top line is. Is it cash flowing? And that really resonated with me with Senior Solutions and as an individual agent, is to ask yourself this question: is your business cash flowing? Are you producing a residual type of income? And the thing about financial services, one of the reasons why I got into it was for that residual income. We have multiple opportunities to make residual income, whether it be from renewals or whether it be from agency building, hiring other people, putting people in business, and being able to receive overrides off of your team's production. So Kevin O'Leary was definitely cash flow. Bethany Frankel, I really didn't know who she was, to be honest. I never really heard of her. I don't really watch reality TV, but she was a star on a reality TV show. I think it was The Real Housewives of New York. But she's also an incredible entrepreneur and business person. Jimmy, I don't know, have you in the grocery store, or have you ever seen the brand Skinny Girl?
I think so. I know I've seen a lot of stuff. Yeah, Skinny Girl.
But you have like she has her own wine,
Yes.
you know, all different. I mean, it's a huge brand. Anyway, she is a business owner, owns the brand Skinny Girl. But one of the takeaways that I got from Bethany is just in business is that you really have to have tenacity. And you know, she was in a position where she was, I guess you can say, kind of being taken advantage of from a business standpoint. As an example, for her role in that reality TV show, she was only getting paid $7,000, not an episode, but for the year. So it was really nothing. But she took that and she was able to, you know, develop her skills, use, you know, and make connections and be able to expand. And the fact that she was able to open up that business was really, really incredible. Tommy Hilfiger was there. Incredible business guys. I mean, everybody knows. I mean, Tommy Hilfiger, obviously, fashion icon and business owner. He had, I don't have my notes with me, but gave tremendous advice on, you know, running a business and starting from scratch. And the thing about it is, Jimmy, is that most of the people that were, all the people that were there that were guest speakers are people that didn't come from money. They're people that started from scratch. And that's one thing I really admire in anybody who's ever started a business and they started it from scratch. You know, they didn't take over a business, they built it from the ground up. And with Hilfiger, I mean, the big takeaway from him is that ignore the naysayers, ignore the people, oh, that you can never do that, you can never do that. Man, if you believe in something, if you believe in yourself, it's just go for it. Let's see who else we had. Oh, Drew Brees was there. He was kind of a surprise guest. Didn't know Drew was going to be there. His story was incredible. You know, Drew kind of had a semi rocky start. He had a pretty decent college career. He played Purdue, but he really wasn't that highly recruited. Everybody said he was too slow, too short. You know, he's you know, under 6 foot tall. But as you guys know, if you follow NFL, if you know who Drew Brees is, holds several records. That he's over 80,000 yards passing, which is the NFL record, even more than Tom Brady, most yards ever passing, just an incredible inspiration, and just, you know, getting around these people and being able to hear their stories and how they were able to overcome adversity. I'm just telling you, it's more than just motivation, it's inspiration. And that really is one of the things that drives a lot of people in business. It's not how motivated you are. Just remember, motivation is temporary. It's the internal, it's the inspiration. Inspiration is what keeps you going. Inspiration is what gets you up in the morning and keeps you going. That's why I go to conferences like this. Alex Rodriguez was there. You know, he talked about a lot of different things. He talked about a lot of the lessons that he learned from George Steinbrenner, the owner of, he's passed away now, but the owner of the Yankees, and the different things, the business, the life's lessons that he learned from George Steinbrenner. He talked about his use with steroids. He talked about overcoming adversity, is that fact that when he got suspended, Alex Rodriguez, I didn't know this, but he served the longest suspension in NFL, or not NFL, in Major League Baseball history, but was able to come back from that adversity and be better than he's ever been before. And now that he's retired, of course, he's in broadcasting. He's also in real estate. He's a real estate investor, just a true inspiration. One of the things that I picked up from Alex, Jimmy, was that he had talked about one of the lessons that he learned from George Steinbrenner, and it had to do with coaching and self-evaluation. And he used the stoplight theory. We've all pulled up to a stoplight. We know stoplights have three colors. They have green, which is go, yellow, which is take caution, be careful, and red, which means stop. So when it comes to self-evaluation, and when Alex was looking to improve his game and to get better and become the best baseball player that he could ever be, he used what he referred to as the stoplight coaching model. We'll say green is self-evaluate. And I'll ask everybody to do this. Just write down, grab a piece of paper, write the word green, yellow, and red. And then when you have time, in the green, self-evaluate and just write down all the things that you think you do well. Like, what are the things that you do well in your business now? Yellow is, what are the things that you do okay, but you need to tweak, and you could probably, with a little bit of effort and coaching, maybe you could do a little bit better. And then red, what are the things that you absolutely suck at that need to improve? Maybe it's prospecting. Maybe it's learning a certain product or knowing your products better. But just use that little method to self-evaluate to get better. Let's see. Oh, Tyrese Gibson, songwriter, song producer, movie producer, entrepreneur, businessman. You know, the thing I learned about the big story from Tyrese is that it doesn't matter where you come from, you know, whether you came from the projects, middle class, or your family was rich, is that it doesn't matter where you come from, is that if you work hard enough and you push through the adversity, which is a very common theme. The very common theme, Jimmy, of just about everybody was there, is that everybody had to push through some type of adversity. And it doesn't matter what other people think about you. It's about what you think about yourself, and to be able to push through. Oh, Jesse Itzler. When this guy first came on, I honestly, I had no idea who he was, but man, what an inspirational story. I don't know if you remember, Jimmy, do you back, I guess it was in the 80s. Did you ever watch MTV when like Downtown Julie Brown was on MTV?
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy was on there too. He was a white rapper. So if you Google him, you'll find out who he is. But so he had some success early. Didn't get paid a lot of money for being on MTV, but he went on to open up a started a private jet company. I think it's called Marquis Jet. Now
Oh
it's
yeah, I know who he is. Yeah.
yeah, and the thing about it is that he wasn't a pilot and didn't even own a jet, but just came up with the idea and basically became a broker. And I just tell you a real quick story. I thought this was fascinating. He thought to himself, man, I need to get around rich people. I need to get around people that would be in need of of the services. He hadn't sold one contract yet, and we I know a lot of people on the call. You know what TED is, like the TED Talks, where people get together and they have those private talks. Well, he thought to himself, you know what? There's a lot of successful rich people that go to these TED Talks. I'm gonna fly to LA or wherever it was, and I'm gonna go to a TED Talk. So he did, and he showed up, but he couldn't get in because he didn't have any credentials. So he thought to himself, oh my God, I flew all the way here. I can't talk to anybody. And then he went to, I think it was a local, like a Starbucks or a coffee shop, and he was just kind of sitting there. And he realized he started seeing people come in. This is such a funny story, but he started seeing people come in that he recognized that had credentials from the TED meeting. And then what he noticed is that they all came in, they bought a coffee and bought some type of muffin. Okay, so what he did, listen to this, Jimmy. What he did is that the next day he got there before before everybody else, and he bought every muffin they had. So the place was sold out of muffins. And so as these potential, what he was calling, what he thought would be prospects, were coming in, they're ordering their coffee. They say, I'll take a coffee and a muffin. They're like, oh, we're sorry, we're out of muffins. Oh, you're out of muffins. And then they place their order, and as they're walking out, Jesse would say, oh, I just happened to overheard you were looking for a muffin here. I happen to have an extra one. Here, take this muffin. And so they take the muffin, and then he would just engage into a conversation. Oh, well, you're here for the TED event? Oh, yeah, he just strike up a conversation. It just so happens, and I don't remember the name, but the first person that he talked to and just gave him the gesture of the free muffin became his first client for Marquis Jet. And whatever this is, however many years later, is still a client of his. But I mean, isn't that just an inspirational story of just like thinking out of the box? And you mentioned earlier, and I'll go back, you mentioned earlier about prospecting and just how you're able to strike up a conversation with just, people in line at the grocery store. So I thought that was very inspirational. The other thing that Jesse has become is that he is an endurance runner. He's really got into. Oh, we also opened. I'm not going to get into it. He had another really super funny story, but he also opened up a company called Coconut Water, and he ended up selling that to Coca-Cola for multi-million dollars. But from a personal point, one of the things I just want to talk about is that Jesse also he's an endurance runner. And if you look up endurance runner, these are people who run very, very long distances. And he was training, and at the time he was saying is that, the furthest that he could go is that he would always hit a wall at 38 miles. Like when he would get to the 38-mile marker, and whether it was physical or psychological, is that he had a total breakdown and his body just collapsed. He couldn't make it past the 38-mile marker. Well, anyway, fast forward is that he started training. Well, I don't know the guy's name, but he was an ex-U.S. Navy SEAL and endurance runner. And this guy was running distances of over 100 miles at one shot. Jesse started training with him, and what he taught Jesse, which I thought was so good, and I'm teaching myself how to do it, is to ignore. We have to learn to ignore the little voice in our head that says we can't do it. And one of the things now that Jesse does as he's running he says to himself is that I don't get tired. I don't quit. And he talked about the first time that he signed up for the endurance run. It was 100 miles. He was doing it with his partner, the Navy SEAL guy. And man, he broke the 38-mile marker. I think at around 50 miles, he started breaking down, and they kept just telling themselves, I don't get tired. I don't quit. It was able to make it. It got all the way to the 77. There was like a rest station at 77 miles. Jesse said he absolutely collapsed. He couldn't go any further. His body broke down. He was like basically going into shock, you know. Got a little bit of treatment. And then the Navy SEAL said, Jesse, you don't get tired. You don't quit. And he finished the race, 100 miles. But it just kind of goes to prove is that it's kind of mind over matter. And what I reflect from a business standpoint is that, you know, I know it's, you know, sometimes we feel like we're on an island out all on ourselves. And you know, you got to remember what we do is really not physically tiring. It can be mentally exhausting, which can take a physical form in your body. But you got to just tell yourself is that you don't quit. You don't get tired. If you're out running appointments, if you're out door knocking, if you're making phone calls, you got to keep telling yourself, I don't quit. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. So I know it's only been a couple of days, Jimmy, but you know, now I'm back home. I'm working out. As I'm working out, man, and you know, I'm telling myself, I'm using those words internally. I'm telling myself, I don't get tired. I don't quit. So I know I'm going on. Let me just see. Mike Rowe was there. He was an incredible speaker. Learned a
Can
lot
I
from him.
interject something real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
The guy that he's talking about is David Goggins, ex-Navy SEAL. This guy has got a phenomenal story. And I'm
Oh, okay. So did you just Google that?
no, I've been following him for years. This
Oh,
dude,
okay.
he runs like 150-mile races, 240-mile races, and he finishes. But I'll just say this: the very first time that he, I think he started, if I remember right, he started because one of his Navy SEAL friends died, and that's what he was into. So in honor of his friend, he signed up to do the ultra marathon. It was like 150 miles. And the guy says, well, have you ever run a marathon? He goes, look, no, I've never even run a marathon. He goes, well, why don't you go run a few of those and then come back and see me? So this guy won the first 3 marathons he entered and went back to see him. And then he went on to win the 150 miler. The guy's
Wow.
phenomenal. But yeah. And also the last guy you were just talking about with the Jets, one of his big clients is 50 Cent. They used to work together. And one day Jesse noticed that that 50 Cent was on his plane. And so he went over to personally, welcome him and stuff like that. And when 50 Cent was like, "Oh my God, this,"
He
I didn't
told
even.
that story.
Yeah, he told us it was amazing. So yeah, I do a lot of reading too, Joe.
Yeah, he told that story, and they worked together. And I guess he called 50 Cent and said, he goes, "Hey, it's Jesse." You know, say, "Oh yeah, dude, you were just on my plane." And now
Yeah,
50 Cent he will not ride on anyone else's planes but
he puts in
Jesse's.
his contracts. Yep.
Um, but Mike Rowe, but talking about 50 Cent, this was crazy, dude. So one of the things that we did, just talking about pure association with the conference, is that I had paid to go to an event. They opened up the Live nightclub in Miami, which has been closed for a year. Okay, they opened it up just for us, and guess who was there?
Ooh.
50 Cent showed up and did a private concert for us.
Cool.
I mean, it was just crazy. We weren't expecting it. And then the
Nice.
guy down there, I don't know if you see the guy like on his cell phone.
Uh-huh.
That's DJ Khalid. He showed up. And then these guys, 50 Cent and him, I mean, they hadn't seen each other in a long time, but man, it was just absolutely incredible. And the people that were there and just the power, the total power of association. So just to kind of wrap things up on a top agent, I have a few other thoughts. Let me take a look at my notes here. Oh, a couple other things that I learned, a couple other takeaways from the conference is that in business, regardless of what business you're in, you got to find out what works, and then you have to expand on it. You have to keep doing it and 10x it. As an example, and this is the best example I can give, lead generation. Guys, I've tried every different lead creation on the planet. I'm just telling you, everything works a little bit, but nothing works better than direct mail. So if direct mail works the best, why not just put all your eggs in one basket, because we know it works the best, and just go for it. That's kind of the key in business. If you find something that works, drive it home until it doesn't work anymore. But right now, direct mail is working better than anything else, whether it be Facebook leads, telemarketing leads, any other type of lead that you can get. Direct mail, hands down, is working the best. Know your numbers. You either know your numbers or you're not in business. Here's one thing that was a good takeaway, and ask yourself this question, write this down. What do you need to give up to grow? What do you need to give up to grow? What does that mean? It could be a bad habit. Maybe you need to give up smoking, doing drugs, drinking too much, eating too much. There's something. Yes. Jimmy, did you have a comment?
Give up TV.
Give up TV. There's something in your life that is a drain on your time and energy that you need to give up. And if you give it up, replace it with something else. Replace it with a better, healthier habit. Be obsessed with the process. Guys, we talked about with activity, man. Don't focus on the results initially. Be obsessed with the process. And let's see, self-evaluation, personal growth. You definitely have to have an invested interest in that. Guys, the biggest thing that you can invest in is you. Now, when I say invest, there's a lot that goes into the word invest. I'm not talking about just monetary, okay? When it comes to business, the biggest thing that we can invest in dollar-wise is lead generation, is marketing and advertising. When it comes to overall investment, time, money, and energy, it's got to be in you, man. You got to invest in you. That's where you're going to see the biggest growth in your life, in your personal health, and with your family is personal growth. And with that, Jimmy, I think we've used up all of our time. So went a couple of minutes over. So guys, I hopefully you've got a lot out of this call. Hopefully it was not only motivational but inspirational. And let's go out and let's make things happen. If you need help, contact myself, contact Jimmy directly. Jimmy, any last thoughts or comments before we sign off today?
I have a question for you, Joe. So if somebody's interested in getting started on self-development, what would be a good 1 or 2 books that you recommend them to start with?
Just on pure self-development, I would say any book from Og Mandino. I think one of them is there's 2 books that are really good. The Greatest, I think it's called I don't have them in front of me, The Greatest Miracle, and then The Greatest Salesperson on Earth or in the World. Just look up Og Mandino, and anything that he has written is certainly going to be really helpful for personal growth and personal development. When it comes to sales, Grant Cardone he's my go-to guy for the 10X rule, sell or be sold, be obsessed or be average. Those are my top 3 books by Grant Cardone. And then the book that we mentioned earlier, I think if you're in financial services or life insurance sales, you got to read that book, How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling by Frank Betcher. So those would be my my starting books.
Awesome. All right. Well, everybody have a great weekend. See you, Joe.
All right, man. God bless. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.